What you do not know about the bloody face of the internet, dark web. Did you know that there are people who spend millions just to watch a child being raped? People buy blood with money, and people pay billions only to see a person killed in front of them, and they pay according to their request. Have you ever asked yourself why young children are kidnapped in the whole world? What will they do with them? Very strange and frightening questions that resonated on our ears are strong and cannot be absorbed. Whenever we search for an answer to one of the questions, we enter another mysterious question box and enter us with another scary vestibule. This is what I felt when I saw these questions being asked on a YouTube video. The story of this video started a few days ago when he posted a video clip on social media that contains scenes far from humanity, which is two girls strangling a cat to death. For me, only I saw the photos spread on Facebook because I did not dare watch the video for the ugliness of the scene that was posted via photos. On the next day of this incident, while sitting with one of my relatives, she talked to me about this video and said this is the dark web here. I was interested in talking and what was explained to me briefly, which aroused my surprise and my curiosity in searching for the dark web or the so-called dark internet and entering this hidden world which we don't know about anything. While searching through the Google and YouTube engine for this world and entering into its details, I discovered that what we use from social networking sites and search through Google and other such sites that are called floating web or web surface which are indexable, all of these numbers actually do not constitute only 5% of the size of the entire internet, and the rest, which represents 95% of the internet volume, is what is known as the dark web or the dark internet, and this is not indexable. This huge percentage that dark web has captured makes everyone wonder, what is the dark internet? How does it work and how to get there? Then we return to answer the questions that were asked first. What is the dark internet? It is a large network of websites, which cannot be accessed through traditional search engines such as Google and Bing, and cannot be accessed through internet browsers such as Google Chrome or Firefox. According to the winner's site, these sites use encryption techniques so that it is very difficult to identify and know the owners of these sites. Also, the interaction between users of these sites is using encryption techniques as well, so that it is very difficult to determine the location or identity of users. Dark web websites have been created with typical web technologies like host software, hypertext markup language and JavaScript. These sites can be accessed via a regular web browser such as Google Chrome or Firefox. As for dark web websites, they can be accessed through a network routing program designed to provide confidentiality for visitors and launchers alike. The digital addresses of dark web pages do not end with internet domains such as .com or or other standard domains. Often these titles include long strings of letters and numbers ending in other vocabulary such as onion and to be. This is a sign that teaches software like FreeNCR and B2P how to find dark web websites while maintaining the privacy of the identity of users and hosts. According to the site of The Island, the dark internet arose. In fact, the idea of moving away from government censorship was one of the main reasons behind the emergence of the dark internet. We need to go back in history a little back. In 1999, Ian Clarke, a computer scientist at the University of Edinburgh, UK, drew attention to two flaws in the design of the Internet that was old. It is only 10 years old. Clarke explained that, using the public addressing system and the tracking software that could be tracked, it was extremely easy to monitor and control the web. If our reading habits and posts are always associated with us, Clarke believes that powerful entities like governments or companies can use this information to control us. Moreover, if the web relies on centralized infrastructures, such as DNS, which translates names into internet addresses, then blocking access to certain websites, such as those that oppose and criticize ruling parties and leaders, is within the grasp of the state. So easy. Clarke was right. What can be called surveillance capitalism, as we know it now, tracks everything we do on the internet, and many sites and companies are already using us for profit, and we have the largest and clearest evidence of our privacy violation on Facebook and Google, in order to further direct ads to us. Also, in many parts of the world, governments are blocking websites that act against their trends. To this end, Clarke developed the Freenet network as a decentralized and anonymous alternative to the internet. Other networks soon followed with Tor and I2P, the Internet's hidden project. These three networks together make up the dark web. According to the Politician's website, rather than being unethical or hidden, we must think that it is the network that operates in the darkness, which represents only a blackout of communications. The only factor that distinguishes it from the rest of the Internet is that it works on a program that blocks the ways in which regular Internet traffic is followed, so that users cannot be tracked. In theory, no one knows who runs its websites or who visits it. Red roams the most dangerous sites in the deep web, specifically in the depths of deep web, but what is the benefit of such sites? For example, on this site, they torture people directly according to the desire of onlookers who want to watch this bloody show, only ordinary viewers without judging the poor victim of anything, and the lowest price for viewing the show is 1, with a composition equivalent to $3,000 an hour, and this number is variable depending on the occasion. There are other people who pay this amount more for VIP membership. This type of subscriber is the one who rules the poor victim by the torture method that they desire, and here we talk about examples such as removing the eyes and teeth and cutting the victim, themselves thirsty for blood. Where in the Red Room or the Red Room there are more than 40 torture machines such as what is in Saw, and the important subscribers master their torture according to their desires, until that victim dies due to the large number of torture, or the VIP member may add more cash in order to kill the victim the way he desires. According to the Huhu Informatics website, they target homeless people who live in the street or migrant people illegally and without documents, so even if they die, no one will inform the police of their loss, and in this way the victim is kidnapped and they set the date of the show and offer the prices that differ between the ordinary and the important, and the prices may reach for the important to $25 in the composition of $61,351, and the understanding will be via the email displayed on the site, and the transaction will go through very confidentially. Weapons trade. Different types of weapons come second on dark websites and are classified within multiple lists, starting from small pistols to Kalashnikovs, automatic rifles, small bombs, and smart crackers, and not only this. Darkness helps promote arms among citizens, especially in countries that impose strict rules on the sale and possession of a weapon such as France and others, so citizens have come to resort to that site, which includes tens of thousands of pages about the weapon, and all that the user has to do is enter, search and pay via the purchase button. More than one dark website has been implicated in terrorist attacks that occur where extremists obtain weapons through websites secretly without anyone knowing their identity. During the Paris attacks, a number of websites headed by Nucleus closed the section on weapons for fear of tracing, and the most famous weapons that is being sold on dark websites is the ISIS's favorite weapon, such as the Kalashnikov AK-47s, which is available on the secret encrypted website on the Internet. Dark Trent at a price of €1,500, and the weapon is not sold in large quantities on dark Internet websites, but rather definitely unlike drugs, due to the difficulty of delivery and transportation. Terrorist organizations through the dark Internet or the so-called deep web. Terrorist organizations can collect financial donations, send and receive money in a safe environment, out of the hands of anti-terrorist agencies around the world. It is well known that security control of the dark Internet is much more difficult than control of the surface Internet. ISIS uses the dark Internet to buy goods that are not traded between individuals, such as weapons, military equipment, and fake passports, using Bitcoin. White Wolves is one of the controversial sites, as the site offers the provision of rental services for professional killers, and sets different prices according to the person's importance, ranging from $25,000 to $15 million, and it is not the only site that offers such fearful services, and certainly there is no confirmation of the truth and correctness of these services, but it may be a front for expensive frauds. According to Okaz site, Mercenary Pirates. The deep network in general is full of mercenary pirates, hackers, who provide various piracy services for money, such as hacking websites, email accounts and private accounts on social networks, and some of these provide tracking services for people by penetrating smartphones to monitor their movements, and eavesdrop on calls. There are also sites that specialize in teaching various and advanced methods of electronic piracy, including forums, blogs, and chat sites specializing in this field, as well as sites that sell hacking programs. Drug dealing. The most prevalent commodity on the dark internet is drugs, and because circulating in large quantities is very difficult on the ground, merchants and users take this type of site in order to buy drugs safely that the company cannot track. There are more than 50,000 lists for selling drugs of all kinds, such as marijuana and cocaine, LSD, pills and cannabis, and 35 other types of drugs, and these goods are usually found at a lower price than they are on the ground, and there are sellers offering the buyer to deliver the drugs to the door of the house very safely, but here the prices start to rise, and this transfer is via a third party receives goods and unilaterally delivers them, and the matter has become common to drug users. Although drug sales sites are only 4 years old, they have significantly succeeded in attracting merchants and users. According to a recent survey of the global drug market for 2015, about 10% to 15% of drug users in the United Kingdom, the United States and Australia buy it directly from the black internet, and these statistics ring the bell of danger, because young people are beginning to rely on safer ways to get drugs away from the eyes of scratching. He died in currencies that no one could track, especially as dark sites warn their users of dangerous goods that can cause them security damages and threaten the safety of dealers. According to the site of the Seventh Day. According to economic reports published by the American QZ site, drug trafficking on dark websites has become very prosperous and is achieving millions of dollars and more, and Bitcoin currencies, which are the backbone of trade on dark websites, have become legitimate in some major sites. Death games. There have been many games spread in the recent period that lead to the end of the life of the player used for them, and those games are only ideas inspired by the dark web games, which may be talismans and ways to prepare elves without the individual noticing that. As stated in the newspaper The Way. Blue whale, more than one person worldwide died, including Egyptians, in the last period, due to a game called Blue Whale, which forces players to take steps for 40 days, after which it enters the player's data and game programmers begin to use it against him until he commits suicide after threatening to kill his entire family. The game relies on some psychological equations, through which a person can control everyone in front of him, and convince them of what he wants even if it was suicide. Miriam's game, I knew in the last period and claimed the lives of some young people who used it, and her story was a lost girl, asking the owner of the phone for help, but there are some problems that happen in the middle and affect the player. Satanic, controlled by entities. No one has been identified responsible for the dark web, legal or illegal, but some wonder that governments have left it without eliminating it, but all attempts to penetrate it are failing, which led some to say that it is controlled by demonic entities, thus giving power to its users, and hide it from everyone's eyes. Do you want to browse the dark web? Certainly everyone who passes over this report and reads it would like to enter that strange world that carries within it a world full of blood, crime and inhumanity. Out of curiosity that drives everyone to enter, and there are many sites explaining the steps to enter this part of the internet, and many sites warn against entering it because of its seriousness, the spread of hackers greatly, and when you enter it, you will not go out as you were, and I will pass on my experience to you, as I search for him through the cockle and see some of his films. The aim of this report is not to promote this site, but to be aware of it. Most of our 5-year-old children have their own device to enter the internet, so what about when he becomes a teenager? How will he be sure? He will search for a different internet, and beware of going behind the dark internet. There will be no return. Finally, there are questions that I did not find an answer to, and as I said above, whenever I find an answer to a question, other questions are formed, which I did not find an answer to, namely, who is behind the dark internet? Are terrorist organizations really contributing to its formation? Is it true that governments cannot reach it? And behind the red rooms? What is the purpose of these torture videos? Are there patient psychopaths? Or is there an unknown party interested in spreading terror and violence between society? Questions that need to be answered, but not answered.